The root crisis of our time is a crisis of belonging. It comes from the atrophy of our ecological and community relationships. Who am I? Each relationship tells me who I am. When someone knows not the stories behind the faces he or she sees every day, or the names and uses of the plants, or the history of a place and its people, when one has no intimate companions outside the nuclear family, when one does not know well and is not well known, then one can barely exist. For existence is relationship. The insecure, isolated individual that remains is always anxious, susceptible to manipulation, and an easy target for marketers selling tokens of identity. He or she will eagerly take up whatever politically generated identities are available, aligning with an us against a them to gain a fragile sense of belonging. And the comfort of the digital world will easily seduce that person into replacing lost material relationships with digital ones. When people have a feeling of alienation and not being at home, not belonging, the pattern is to diagnose it as something wrong about you. The first step is to realize that we have been cast in many ways, economically, through our social, physical infrastructure, through our ideologies, through our mythology. We have been cast into a very desolate, disconnected place. It's natural if you are in an environment where everybody is out for themselves, where everybody's trying to rip you off, where gifts are not circulating freely, where everything comes with a price. If that's the matrix that you are in, then you better become self-reliant and you better not depend on other people because they're going to try to take advantage of you. If everybody's pursuing a goal of independence and self-reliance, then there is no basis for community, because community is built from debt. Not financial debt, legally enforced, but from the debt that we call gratitude. Everybody has given things to everybody else, and so you're woven together in a network of giving and receiving. If everybody is self-reliant, if everybody's meeting their needs through money, then you literally don't need anybody. So how can you have community if in the background is the realization, I don't need you and you don't need me? And so that's one level of where the obsession with control and security comes from. It comes from a basic insecurity. But there's also a whole other level of it that goes deeper, which is the way that we are trained to see the world. When we see ourselves as the only intelligent agents in a universe of force and mass, of impersonal, arbitrary, random forces that have no purpose or intelligence in and of themselves, then we are forever at the mercy of these forces unless we can transcend them, unless we can harness them and turn them to our purposes and impose intelligence onto a world that has none, bring order to chaos. So this insecurity also motivates the entire progress of technology and the equation of progress with control. So when we become aware of the magnitude of the forces arrayed against change, the powers that rule this world, and the depths of our own habits, and just the inertia of society, it can seem totally hopeless, and we can succumb to despair. And in fact, despair is actually an important part of the process, because that is how we let go of the wrong way to do it. It's just like when an addict is in that downward spiral. We talk about hitting bottom, but it's not actually just one bottom. It's a series of bottoms. And each bottom says, okay, are you done with this yet? We have not hit bottom yet. We're still trying to make it work. We're still indulging the addiction to control. We're also being offered deepening loss and being asked, have you had enough yet? Are you ready, humanity, to embark on the return journey? If it were hopeless, you would not be here. The very fact that you are here with your aspirations and your yearnings for a more beautiful world, that means that it's possible and that you have a role to play in it. I can't explain why that is true, but there's a certain logic to it. And that logic draws on a knowledge that there is intelligence in all things. That the world is not just an accident. If I am limited to my realism, it is impossible that the world will ever heal. But my realism is an inheritance from a world story that is much narrower than what is really real and possible. And it is, in fact, the precise world story that has created the crisis to begin with. When we open up to a larger causality, to a bigger reality than what modernity says is real, then the situation is no longer hopeless because we have access to all kinds of miracles. Miracles being something that are not possible from the story that you live in, but that are possible from a bigger story, and that insert themselves into the course of events as a signal that you're living in too small a world. This return, this great return, is always available to us, not as an instantaneous transport, but as a path to walk, which is just the step-by-step rebuilding of relationships to actual plants, animals, people, to the world. Really, I'm just asking people to trust themselves. Could it be that a new belief system is already growing in you? And really what it requires is an act of gratitude. Simply to notice, wow, actually my belief is changing. And I am more available to miracle and to possibilities that I had not been imagining before. And maybe the pace is not as fast as I would like, but wow, I've really changed in the last 5 years. Thank you. And that thank you, that gratitude for a process that is being given to you accelerates the process. And maybe even invokes the process, maybe even like what you have to do to install a new belief system is to be grateful that a new belief system is being installed. The modern mind has trouble understanding this paradox, but another part of you besides the mind does understand it. And that's part of the new habit of trust. And that unending gratitude. Wow, life is a gift. Every experience that has happened to me is a gift. Everything I need is being born within me. I don't have to control things anymore. This is like what being at home in the world is. It's not only like living in a gift economy, in a gift culture that makes you feel at home. It's living in a gift universe. Yeah, sometimes I am gifted with moments where I know that I do belong and always have belonged, and that I'm not really separated. I think everyone is gifted with a moment like that sometimes. Know that your longing to belong is a sacred treasure, and cherish your longing and celebrate it. Don't suppress it. Don't try to comfort it. When you nourish that longing with your attention and your acceptance, it will generate opportunities for you to connect intimately with others, with the world. And because you have held it as precious, you will recognize those opportunities and you will act on them. And by doing that, you will be an agent for others to manifest their own longing to belong, because they will come into connection with you. Even though I wrote a book called The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible, it doesn't really describe that world so much. Here's how, the economy works, here's the bike paths, and here's the gardens, and it's more like I recognize that future when I see glimpses of it in the present. Like when I'm somewhere where the loudest sound I can hear is children playing, I'm like, yeah, that's it. Or when I venture into some place that's still relatively pristine and I can just hear how many birds, like the almost deafening chorus of birdsong, then I'm like, yeah, that's part of it. I don't think that we have to have a complete picture of it. All we have to do is recognize it. And I think everybody is gifted experiences that are outreaches of that future into the present, that reassure us that it does exist, that it is possible, and that we have a role to play in serving it, because it speaks to the part of us that resonates with that. And as that part of us comes more alive, then we go through transformation. And our beliefs change because we saw it. I saw that, and I understood at that moment that this wasn't an aberration. But that it is a foreshadowing of what's possible. A promise. It's a promise.